There will likely never be another Call of Duty Zombies game that will reach the heights that Black Ops 3 did. I don't mean that another game can't be better. In fact, this isn't even my favorite. But when looking at the impact it had on the series and its community, this was objectively the golden age of COD Zombies. During this time, we had massive events like Noah J's Easter eggs for charity, raising over $100,000 for St. Jude's, the rise of community figures like Tim Hansen, the hype train en route to Zombies Chronicles, and we even had some controversies with the infamous 115 fan movie, which I'm just now realizing I never got my money back for. Anyway, I have a question I want you to think about as we go through this retrospective. Even almost 10 years later, why is Black Ops 3 still the community favorite Zombies game? With all that being said, it's time to jump into this game's launch map, the highly complex, innovative, and fan favorite Shadows of Evil.
You bear the mark. You are cursed. You must place your hand upon the stone.
Mob of the Dead Part 2, anyone? This map is spectacular. Taking place in a corrupted pocket dimension called Morgue City, the atmosphere and game mechanics go together like chocolate and peanut butter. The Lovecraftian monsters that tower over the city complement the ritual and beast mode systems perfectly. You'll be playing as one of 4 characters: Nero Blackstone, the murdering magician; Jessica Rose, the killer performer; Jack Vincent, the dirty cop; and Floyd Campbell, the brass knuckle boxer. For their crimes, each are branded with the mark of the beast, granting us access to a new, powerful ability.
It's fucking weird. I don't consider this shit weird anymore.
Beast mode is awesome. Much like Mob of the Dead used the Afterlife system to open up doors and power the map, Shadows uses this mechanic to accomplish the same. They aren't quite the same though. Inside of Beast mode, you don't simply shock boxes to power up machines. You have to parkour around different areas of the map while making use of your melee to smash boxes and your grapple to reach new locations. This can be tedious when learning the game, but once you get it down, it'll likely become one of your favorite aspects of the map. Among the various items that you'll find while smashing open crates and shocking pads is the summoning key. Take this artifact to any of the sacrifice locations, along with a token from a specific character, to start up a ritual, then be granted a slimy little gateworm for your troubles. Appetizing, I know. We'll make use of these later, but first we gotta talk about what your punishment is for committing these crimes against God. On your 2nd and 4th ritual, a Margro will spawn at the site. These ugly fellows are 3-headed Apothicon beasts with one goal: send you into the dirt. In terms of functionality, the Margro is basically the Panzer Soldat's cooler older brother. They serve the same function: a high HP enemy that mixes up the flow of the gameplay and takes more than a couple shots to take down. Much like the Beast mode, these guys can be a challenge at first, but once you have a couple games under your belt, they're pretty simple to dispatch. One thing you might be starting to notice is that a lot of the newer aspects on this map are revised versions of things Blundell, the new head of zombies, first implemented in his first 2 creations. After cracking open some Margro heads, you'll probably start to notice the little bugs crawling out making their way into the world. These are the parasites, and alongside the meatballs raining down from the sky, they're your more interesting replacement for the hellhounds in the city. As you run away from these new enemy types, you'll come across a small retro gumball machine left by the mysterious Dr. Monty. Once per round, you get a free spin at this bad boy, granting you one of 5 gobblegums that you selected before the game. What are gobblegums, you might ask? Well, these are the bread and butter of Black Ops 3 innovations. Each one of these things contain a unique ability, from making everything on the map free to granting you a new gun every 30 seconds. These definitely spice up the gameplay of BO3 and allow for some variety in playstyle. Unfortunately, while they can be earned in-game, Activision has it set up to where you'll have to spend a lot of cold hard cash money if you want to get a solid backlog of the good ones. Other than that, they are a great addition. So, after you grab your gums and complete the 4 rituals, per request of the Shadow Man, make your way to the underground and open up the final sacrificial altar. After placing all 4 worms into their cups, the final ritual will begin. But before you head in there, maybe stop and have a drink at the new Widow's Wine. This is one of the most powerful perks of all time, stunning zombies around you every time you're hit. Kill them while they're stunned and you just might get those charges back. Completing this ritual will unlock the Pack-a-Punch for you, but also reveals that our helpful guide has been lying to us this entire time. To be fair to him though, his name is the Shadow Man and he had us doing demonic sacrifices, so I really don't know what you expected. Since he's yoinked the summoning key, our job is to undo the mistake of letting him out, but first we're gonna need some more firepower, and thankfully this map has a lot of it. First up, once you Pack-a-Punch your gun, you'll notice that the tentacle is still willing to take your weapon again, but for half the cost. Let him have it and you'll be given one of the 5 new alternate ammo types, or AATs, that Black Ops 3 introduced. Blast Furnace and Fireworks are great for removing whole hordes of zombies. Thunderwall acts as a miniature thunder gun and will get you out of a tight spot. Turned is a great choice for any camping spot, but Deadwire is generally considered the best and what you'll see in high round runs, with its high activation rate and good kill count. These AATs are the main reason why round 255 runs are so common inside of BO3. They turn any weapon into an infinite damage zombie slaying machine. Even the starting room weapons like the RK5 can be used all the way up to the round cap. I both love and hate this. It's great that we have more variety in what guns can be used in the late game, but they all end up functioning the same at that point, and it does make the box almost unnecessary in a lot of maps. Here in Morgue City, there is one reason to spin the box though. Monkey bombs are replaced with a much more powerful Apothecon style variant, the little Arnies. They act the same as monkeys, drawing in all nearby zombies, but instead of one mid-tier damage explosion, they are constantly producing infinite damage in a circle around them. Not only are they the more powerful monkeys, they can even be upgraded. And just look at this little guy. How can you not love him? What you won't find in the box is this map's wonder weapon. Luckily, the parts are flawlessly implemented into the normal game progression. All we have to do is take down a Margwa and some parasites, then wait for one of the various item pods around the map to turn purple and open them up. Once you get these, head over to a crafting table, ignore how it looks when being equipped, and get ready to enjoy one of the best wonder weapons of all time. Aesthetically, it's not just one of the best, it is the best wonder weapon of all time. Its actual shot is similar to the Gersh device, but something about having a squid monster attached to my hand hits the dopamine receptors just right. Other buildables on this map come in the form of a revised version of the shield, this time coming equipped with a rocket power dash, and the Civil Protector, a Terminator type robot who will slay zombies, revive you, and just be an all-around Chad. Okay, we are fully kitted up and ready to send the Shadow Man back to hell. So what's the first step? Well, actually, it's get another weapon. Our final upgrade comes in the form of the Apothecon Sword. Simply find the code by riding around the map on the tram to unlock the eggs, then fill them up at different statues around the map. After we obtain the base sword, we upgrade it by taking down more Margwas at various ritual sites and trading the egg with a Keeper Soul. These are the most fun specialists inside of Black Ops 3, coming with a kick-ass look, infinite damage, and a relatively straightforward quest. I would take these over the Ragnarots or Skull of Non-Sopway any day of the week. Now that we have the sword, there's only a couple steps left. We need to head over to Nero's room and interact with a floating book. This will spawn a flag in the underground, and this starts one of my favorite Easter egg steps of all time. We have to take this to 3 different spots in each of the 4 districts, placing it in the ground and defending it from attacks by parasites and spaghetti toppings, plus the elusive Shadow Man. This is a fast-paced, difficult, and incredibly engaging step. The more players you have, the easier it gets, but everyone will still need to be watching out for when the Shadow Man will appear and try to take him out before he gets the flag. Completing this step will unlock Treyarch's first ever boss fight, and as far as boss fights go, it's not the best. You have to play in the Pack-a-Punch room, interacting with the keepers at the Gateworm locations to remove the Shadow Man's shield while avoiding hordes of the undead and Margwas. A death machine or any high-powered gun really makes this fight pretty trivial, but as a first boss fight attempt, I can see what they were going for, and it's definitely fun on the first playthrough. Now, the last step of the Easter egg after the boss fight is my biggest gripe with this egg and the map in general really. We have to enter an infinite version of Beast Mode and move to activate the train to crash into the now wormified Shadow Man. This is really cool and fun to see, but Treyarch decided that the entire egg, up to and including the boss fight, should be completable with any number of players. Then on the very last step to trigger the cutscene, it randomly player locked, needing to activate 4 boxes at the same time with no adjustments for player count. This was honestly a baffling design choice and the only stain on an otherwise fantastic main quest. If you do have the 4 players and can complete the Easter egg fully, just as the summoning key is returned to the keepers, Primus Edward Richtofen comes out of nowhere with a steel chair, hits you with the sorry not sorry, and bounces with the most powerful artifact in the universe. I love this ending, and it was a fantastic bridge between this side story and character cast and our main crew, Primus. To wrap up this map, I want to talk about how it launched. I mentioned at the start that it was a fan favorite map, and while that's true now, this was not a very successful map at the start of BO3's life, and it's honestly not hard to see why. Up to this point, each Zombies game launched with a mix of both new and old to help players adjust. Noct was the first of its kind, so the solo launch was a simple map. Then in Black Ops 1, we had Kino, which was basically a World at War map with Black Ops 1 guns and systems, and that launched alongside 5, a very new-feeling map that's a lot more similar to the other ones inside of its game. The following game, Black Ops 2, launched with Transit, the largest and arguably most complex map at the time. To help with that, Treyarch had the survival maps Bus Depot, Farm, and Town. These are design choices that were deliberate ways to give the player a simple alternative when learning the game or when they just want to have a fun, relaxed time. Where Shadows suffered and almost failed as a launch map is that its simple map pairing, the Giant, was locked behind a DLC right away, meaning that many players were stuck with just Shadows of Evil. This is fun, but a difficult to learn map. Anecdotally, I spent much of my time playing the Giant up until DE came out, and I had more options to bounce between, because I just didn't want to learn all of the side eggs and upgrade steps that Shadows of Evil had at the time. Luckily, this map did age like fine wine, and is now considered one of the greats. I won't really be delving into the Giant as a map here, it's really just Derice but with BO3 mechanics. It kicked off the Primus multiverse story with young Richtofen introducing old Richtofen to a 9mm, but that's really the only thing of note that happened there. Instead, we're going to jump straight into the other map that many people consider to be one of the greatest of all time, and it shares many aspects of my personal favorite map, Origins. DLC 2 brought us to a castle turned 935 facility, Der Eisendrache. I would be willing to bet my left arm that the most common answer for what is your favorite zombies map is this map. In a lot of ways, it attempted to take the formula that was implemented inside of Origins and iron out all of its not so fun wrinkles. Loading into Der Eisendrache is a very different experience to Shadows of Evil. In stark contrast to the open, warm-colored, and intense environments, here we have a snowy, blue-tinted room reminiscent of older maps where there isn't an immediate goal to accomplish. One new thing that there is in the spawn room to do is the tram system. It requires you to insert a power core dropped by zombies in exchange for a random power-up. This can help a lot in the early rounds for those of us who don't use gums, and can be a godsend when in need of a maxi in the late game. Going back to more standard conventions, Treyarch designed a spawn with 2 exits, the quick revive side, and then the objectively correct one. And if you disagree with me, not only are you wrong, but you need to load up a game right now and play it correctly. Starting from the first door you open, every main location inside of the map is trainable. Some might be a little bit tighter than others, pause, but a player of decent skill level can make any area work really. And no matter which side of the map you end up going with, you'll quickly encounter the first step to getting your bow. Simply feed the zombies to this dog head, and after a certain amount of time it will... oh wait, sorry, wrong script. Simply feed zombies to this dragon head, and after enough are killed, it will disappear. This works exactly like the dog mechanic on Mob of the Dead, so I guess Blundell wasn't quite ready to let go of his first child yet. As you keep opening doors, you'll eventually make your way into the underground, and after having fed all 3 dragons, you'll gain access to the Wrath of the Ancients. On its own, this isn't the most powerful wonder weapon, but it's really just meant as a holdover to complete one of the 4 upgrades. As you are getting those dragons fed, you'll need to give a warm welcome to our returning hellhounds. These are not what they used to be, to say the least. A light breeze is enough to take down the dogs, who are no longer anything near their old power level. This is a pretty common theme inside of Black Ops 3 though. More than ever, the bonus rounds are really just a break in the action and a free max ammo. That isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it is something I wanted to note. Now, if you've played Origins before, then you know what these bows are about. Go around the map to find each of the starting quests and complete a few steps to gain access to its final form. I'm not going to go over the process for each bow, we have Noah J's guides for that, mostly. But here are the main points. Lightning is definitely the best for high rounders, having the best all-around horde clearing and allowing for faster, safer strategies, but Wolf is great for the casual player, since it's got the easiest upgrade quest and is pretty much a thunder gun that gets you out of a bad spot. And then Fire and Void are pretty similar on a power level front, and are my least favorite by a pretty large margin. It's not that they're bad per se, just less functional and not worth the more tedious upgrade processes they have, such as Fire making you hit MLG trick shots and Void having the ASMR step.
Subscribe to Coach Ferret. Like the video. Comment.
That sounded a little bit different than normal. But obviously these have pretty big parallels to Origins, so how do they stack up against the staves? The bows are generally easier to make and upgrade when only doing one of them. I don't think there's much arguing that point, but it can be slower when doing multiple since you can only work on one at a time. They're also, on average, going to be more powerful than the staves. However, I still side with Staff Gang, and that's likely 100% because of bias, but I find the design of Origins weapons to feel better and just be more fun all around. They just have that X factor I don't get with the bows. Since Horizon has one of the most casual-friendly Easter eggs, after getting your bow, you might as well start it up. You'll need to chase blue wisps around the map and shoot them with your newly upgraded wonder weapon. This is a fun step, and the only real complaint I have about it is the fact that you need to swap your bow out to the starter one, then shoot the teleporter, and then get your upgraded one again. It's just a bit of a weird, clunky progression. But this does give me a good chance to talk about the new movement system inside of Black Ops 3. We lost access to the classic dolphin dive. Let's take a moment of silence out of respect. Alright, so it was replaced with sliding, which is on its own alright, but Treyarch accidentally made a high skill, incredibly fun movement system. If you time it right, you can infinitely chain your slides, which is not only satisfying as fuck, but it's also even faster than stamina up infused sprinting. Once you do track down all these wisps, you'll unlock the ability to go back in time. Once again, this is a really awesome way to progress the quest. Horizon really took full advantage of the story and setting to tell its narrative and provide gameplay. After returning to present time, the warning sirens are gonna start ringing, and we'll find that the second mini-boss of the map, and another link to Origins, is the return of the Iron Man zombies, the Panzer Soldat. We do have some differences though. Instead of the Yoinking Claw, Horizon's Panzer comes equipped with the ability to shoot explosives at you. These are a lot less cool than the original Soldat, and this was likely done in an attempt to keep it in line with other BO3 mini-bosses. As I mentioned before, they're much less of a threat than previous games in general. After you take out his arc reactor, he'll give you a part to this map's specialist weapon, the Ragnarok DG4. You can collect the others from hitting a button on rocket launch and using a jump pad after the electric trap. Oh yeah, the jump pads. These are teleporters but with more style. After activation of the landing pad, simply walk onto it and freebird your way to the other side of the map. These make for great camping spots with the bows since they kill fast enough and you're provided with a free escape should shit hit the proverbial fan. Alright, where was I? The Ragnaroks are solid. They can be used to dive bomb zombies or placed into the ground as a sort of portable trap. This helps a lot when dealing with panzers, since if they walk into it, they're now stuck floating in the air for the duration. Like I mentioned on Shadows, they aren't as cool as the swords, but I would definitely say they're more powerful. And while we're talking about buildables and weapons, it should be mentioned that the pack-a-punch for DE is done via teleporting parts. Just hit 2 of the 3 and the machine will appear at whatever you don't interact with. Nice and simple. Then we also have the return of the rocket shield from the previous map. Back to the Easter egg. You can now use the symbols you found to unlock that same door in present day, then just insert the new items into the death ray. Now this map is playing the classics, baby, because it's time for Samantha Says. We need to make our way down to both of the computers on the map and play a simple memory game. If you aren't playing solo, hellhounds will start spawning as a deterrent, but like I said, just look at them funny and they'll explode on sight. Now we can finally launch a rocket to send our American Patriot out of orbit and back down to Earth for saving. Unfortunately, we can't get him out just yet, but we do get access to the Call of the Dead's golden rod from the impact. The next step is to repeat the same step as before to go back in time and get new parts, which honestly felt pretty lazy. I would prefer it if we got the last part in a more creative way, but hey, you can't win them all. It makes up for it in the next step, having us follow a keeper soul around the map and get kills with a specific bow in 1 of 4 locations. This will scale to the amount of players you have, so whatever bows you built will work just fine. If you've seen my other retrospectives, you'll know I'm of the opinion that the best egg steps we can get involve heavy killing. When your movement or area is restricted, that's also a bonus. It creates some high tension and allows for some great moments. Once we get this done, the keeper will head to the moon and fucking Shrek all of the people there, then come back with the MPD for us. The way this map ties in connections from previous stories is honestly peak, and I don't think any other maps have done it quite the same. And yes, that includes the map that is literally made of old maps, but we'll get to that later. I said before the Shadows boss fight was pretty mid for a first attempt. The Keeper boss fight, on the other hand, is probably the second best in the game. Being sent to an actual arena helps create a sense of exclusivity and finality to the map. When we fought the Shadow Man inside of a place we spent a good portion of the game in, it just felt very underwhelming. Then mechanics-wise, this isn't a very complex boss. Train the zombies, panzers, and floating skulls until the Keeper goes in for its charge attack. Then run in, place your rags under its feet, and get the cover. Now it'll be staggered for a bit, in which you dump ammo into its chest until max ammo spawns. Then repeat this whilst charging your rags. All of that is a lot harder than the Shadow Man fight from before. It's not Dark Souls levels of challenging, but if you aren't focused, the sheer amount of panzers or the one-hitting Keeper attacks will definitely give you a down. And if you aren't running a Gobblegum to fix that, 1 down is basically a game over for you, since not having Jug inside of this boss fight is like trying to take on the US Army with a slingshot. After taking down our Keeper Overlord, we get to go blow up the moon in a nice role reversal from Black Ops 1. Then the cutscene's gonna trigger and we find out that Richtofen has actually been lying to us the entire time. This is different from the last time he did that though. He's actually still working with us and for the good guys. This one it's communicated to the player that we're not here to rescue, but to kill and capture the soul of our Ultimus counterparts. And back in the day, this is the part where I really got into the story. Something about going around offing the characters we played as for years really helped give Black Ops 3 a sense of closure to this section of the story. It was a nice way to say goodbye to the past. And that pretty much concludes everything on Horizon. So with all that being said, does it live up to its reputation as an all-time great? I mean, yeah, it does. People love this map for a reason. I do sit in the camp that Origins is a more fun map, but I think that you can't look at Horizon as anything other than a massive success for zombies and its player base. Origins wasn't always the most casual-friendly map if you wanted to do everything on it. It worked really well casually if you were willing to forego the staffs, but here Treyarch successfully managed to make the setup process for a casual game seamless and much faster. Which leads me to believe the reason that Horizon is so loved is because it was the best at mixing the casual experience with the more hardcore one, including all the side Easter eggs and Wonder Weapon buildable processes. In a lot of ways, this map and Buried work to accomplish the exact same goal. They just went about it in very different ways, and both rather successfully. Now that they dropped 2 bangers in a row and clearly set up what the goal is for the story going forward, what location did Treyarch take us to next? Well, since Takio Soul is up next, what better place to send us than a small island inside of Japan, Zetsubou no Shima, or the Island of Despair.
Say the line, Bart!
Sorry, I don't speak Japanese.
If I'm being honest with you all, I was really not looking forward to this section of Black Ops 3. On launch, the map gained a reputation for how poorly it performed, with constant crashes and confusing gameplay, and I think I've always looked at it that way. Since then, I've realized I never actually gave this map a fair chance. So going into it, I was hoping to have a similar reaction to when my view changed on Shadows back in the day. Did that actually happen though? Well, let's find out. Zetsubou is a much less vibrant and lively map than all of the others in Black Ops 3. And that's not to say the atmosphere is bad, because I think it does exactly what it sets out to do. It's a dark, depressing vibe to go with the setting of deranged experiments that went on here. Sadly, a side effect of that is the map feels kind of bland. There's some splashes of color sprinkled around, but for the most part, everything feels very monochrome and a little bit uninteresting. Pure appearance is not everything though. So how is the gameplay? Well, the starting room has 2 paths, but most players are going to take the right side since that opens up the challenge area. These challenges are 3 random tasks, and depending on what you get, it's either a fun addition or just straight up brain numbing. Easy ones like shoot the head off the thrashers are mixed with incredibly tedious ones like eat a fruit grown from a plant. So while I do enjoy the addition of these side quests, I think it could have been done much better. Also here, we see 4 red skulls with matching symbols. This is the side quest for unlocking the specialist on this map. Take each of them to their matching totem and defend it from zombies. And this is probably the best system for unlocking the specialist inside of Black Ops 3. It's easily done throughout your normal game progression, and you'll need to open up most of the map to see the final totem. That allows you to make steady strides without boring downtime and acts as a pseudo reward for reaching the map's end. Appearance-wise, it beats the Ragnaroks by a country mile, and it's heavily used inside this map's Easter eggs and side quests, not just slotted in as an extra weapon or pigeonholed into the last step of the map. 8 out of 10, good addition. Progressing further into the map, you'll come across one of 2 labs. These act as a temporary power system for about half the map, and it's nice to see Treyarch attempting to mix up the gameplay with a new type of setup, but this was honestly a miss in terms of design. Not much is gained from the split power, since there's only 1 perk per lab, and it's randomized. The only reason you bother to get it done with is to get the main bunker opened up. What is interesting about the power stations is actually how you power them, and that's because this map's main quirk is water. As zombies are killed, they'll periodically drop seeds. You can take these to any of the plant locations and grow them into specific types based on the water you give it. We have blue, green, or purple water. Get these mixed in any number of ways to unlock simple plants like a zombie killer, or more unique and cool ones like a fully rebirthed pod. Back in the day, I hated these so much. It just did not want to play Stardew Valley while trying to complete and balance all of the vast number of things to do on this map. Thankfully though, this is actually one of the big things that I changed my mind on throughout writing this retrospective. Once you get used to it, the plants aren't that complex, and the rebirth ability is one of the coolest side mechanics in any of the games. I should call her. Moving deeper into the bunker, this is where you'll find the Pack-a-Punch and several locked doors. I'm a little torn on this area. On one hand, it has the most interesting set of rooms in the map. The water tunnels and cocoon rooms are the highlights, but having to open a bunch of doors for 1,250 points to get a small room opened up that's really only there for one buildable part feels pretty bad. This is also where we gain access to the KT-4, this map's wonder weapon, and it's pretty much just a Sliquifier reskin. The process to craft and upgrade this thing is insanely long. The initial crafting is not too bad, outside of needing RNG for a green water zombie drop, but I didn't knock the Apothecant Servant for a similar thing, so I can't really hear. Upgrading it, however, is just a different story entirely. Our first part, the Tooth, is obtained by finishing a side boss fight that is unlocked with the KT-4. Now, the idea of a second non-necessary boss fight is actually pretty sick. Plus, the first time you jump into this tunnel and a big-ass spider comes out and starts spitting on you, definitely remains as one of the coolest surprises in the series. Sadly, the fight itself is pretty mid, just mag dumping into the spider's mouth while dodging the leg stomps, yet it's still better than the Shadows boss fight. Defeating it yields the first upgrade part for the KT and a free Widow's Wine, which is a fun reward. I like it. Speaking of creepy crawlers, they are this map's special round. They're just as paper thin as the dogs, but they have a unique wrinkle of closing off sections of the map with their webbing. Though, as a mechanic, it kind of feels like this was only done to create another challenge for the first Easter egg step, and doesn't really add much to the map. Coming in alongside these little guys, we have the Thrashers. Transform zombies who can one-shot you and steal your body to stop a revive from happening. I think they're just okay. The orange gas that makes you cough is more of an annoyance than a challenge, and the only time you really go down to them is when a random one-shot comes in. Going to our next upgrade step, we need to have the shield completely built and wait around the challenge area till a lucky lightning strike comes by. And setting aside the upgrade for a second, the lightning shield is one of the most creative things on the map. It's used for several unlocks and gives your shield an insta-kill if a zombie hits it. Then you can shoot away the lightning with your melee to discount anything on the map. This step though is simple. You just take the lightning shield and shoot the cage in lab B. That allows for one player to go underground and yoink that upgrade vial. The final part is the main gripe I have with this upgrade process. You have to go to the sewer Bible and hit a 115 rock for access to the rainbow water. Then go to the underwater cave and mesmerize the wall to unlock a special planting area. Oh, but that won't work unless you go and mesmerize a random poster inside of the cocoon room. Now for the next 3 rounds, you need to go down and water this plant. If you miss one, you need to restart. I really hate when Easter egg steps or upgrade steps have arbitrary round wait timers. It's just another issue inside of the main quest, but that'll come up later. Once you do actually get the gun, it is quite strong. The main strategy for this map's high round is camping with this, akin to the Sliquifier strat in Die Rise's elevator shaft. Ironically enough, you actually sit in a shaft here as well. While the design looks good, it honestly just feels kind of boring and uninspired to use, which is a common feeling I have with this map. The systems are good and on the surface it all acts nice, but it makes me feel like I'm kind of just eating a plain piece of toast, if you know what I mean. Doing that, you've actually finished most of the Easter egg. All that's left is to do a fetch quest for 3 cogs around the map. The first is done by lightning blasting a zipline when one player is on it, and if you time it right, you'll land on the docks and get the cog. If you time it wrong, you die. So yeah, that can be a little bit frustrating at times. Besides the instant death, that step's actually kind of cool and I do like it, but the other 2 I am really not a big fan of. One of them you have to use a specific gobblegum, anywhere but here, to pop up into the area and grab it. And it's pretty easy and simple, but having to carry a specific gum for it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. And like I said before, I hate when steps are arbitrarily round locked. For the last one, we need to use water in a blue bucket, shoot with a KT4 for 3 rounds straight, then we have a chance at getting the artillery cell needed for COG 3. Place all 3 into the machine you unlocked earlier and you get access to the boss fight. Except there's no indication as you go down that you need the gas mask, which I was a bit annoyed to find out as I kept repeatedly going down. The boss fight itself is just really stock standard. Run around shooting the thrashers until the boss comes out, if you could even call it that, and then it turns orange and you give it a little bop. Repeat 4 times. I might actually prefer to go back and play the Oz fight from Advanced Warfare, since at least that has exo movement, because this is honestly worse than the Shadows fight. The cutscene tries to take on a serious tone, much like Dreisendraha did, but the cheesy music and overdramatic delivery from Ultimus Takio just kind of makes it more silly than anything. Really taking a look at it after my replay of Zetsubo, I have come around to enjoy it a little bit more. But that being said, it's still probably the weakest of a very strong run of Black Ops 3 maps. Unlike maps like Transit or Infection, there really isn't one thing I can point to and say, this is why the map is bad. It's just a culmination of mechanics and systems inside of it that makes somewhat of a forgettable experience. And for a piece of media to be forgettable is almost worse than being bad enough to remember. And that's probably why this section, and you'll see with Gorod, is much shorter than Shadows or Horizon. There's not a lot to say about it, and that isn't already present in the previous maps. This far into my replay, I'm actually reminded of my main criticism of Black Ops 3. While the map's innovative with small mechanics and with the looks and environments, past this point they really do start to all feel the same. For all of their faults, World at War, Black Ops 1 and 2, and even Advanced Warfare felt very distinct when jumping between maps in both gameplay and appearance. Now, I don't want you to get it twisted, the gameplay is still top tier. I just wish there was less sanitization of the zombies experience, but that's an issue I'll get into more with the later retrospectives. For right now though, we still have to say goodbye to one more of our previously beloved characters, and that's none other than everyone's favorite drunk Russian, Nikolai Belinsky, at the Battle of Stalingrad. My feelings about Gorod Krovi are complicated. On one hand, the vibes and aesthetic are just absolutely amazing, one of my favorite. But then the Easter egg is incredibly long and infuriating, and honestly the map can make me feel kind of dizzy with how samey the layout feels. Into the map, we find ourselves in war-torn Stalingrad, currently under assault by medieval dragons. This is what I mean about the atmosphere and aesthetic being so amazing. Everything here is themed around fantastical elements with these dragons, and it creates such a fun environment. The map is divided into 4 main sections. Starting with the department store, this is where you can equip the various upgrades unlockable throughout the game. This is probably the best part about Gorod, because while riding to the Pack-a-Punch on a dragon lights up my D&D loving heart, being able to equip the wings and basically become part Dragonborn might get it pumping fast enough to warrant a checkup. After this, it's going to split into 2 paths, the supply depot and the tank factory. These are functionally the same, really just extra areas of the map to set up for the dragon ride, but containing some unique aspects like the robot eye trap. The thing about Gorod is, despite how great the vibes are, the different areas of the map don't feel distinct at all. Take a map like Shadows, for example, where each section has its own vibe and identity, whereas inside of Gorod, I feel like I can get lost simply because the environment blends together. This does create a cohesive environment, but comes at the cost of everything feeling a little too samey. The most important section of the map is the Dragon Command, where the power switch is located. Once you flip that bitch on, you can kill zombies in different areas of the map for a code cylinder, and then go defend various supply drops to unlock the 3 parts for the Dragon Command. This is definitely the best way to unlock Pack in Black Ops 3. It's a fun, interactive challenge that's not too difficult, plus it gives you one of the coolest transportations in any zombies map, so that probably does influence my opinion of it. Once we do get to our destination, you can go through a lockdown to unlock the Dragon Strike. You're given 1 max ammo and need to defend the house from 4 different waves of zombies and manglers. It's not too hard, but it's a really cool step for unlocking equipment. For all of its flaws, Gorod 100% has some of the best quests for getting new upgrades in the entire franchise. The strike itself is really just a monkey bomb with some more oomph. It mostly relies on how cool it looks to make it stand out from the original distraction grenade. Honestly, Gorod is as liked as it is, I think, because it's riding off of the vibes it gives out. And do not take a shot for every time I say vibe in this section, because I think you'll be dead by now. The manglers that you see in the lockdown are the Brutus type spawns for this map. They are the better of the 2 special zombies, acting as a nice way to shake up gameplay with their ability for long range attacks. As for their comrade, I'm not even going to give them a dignity of a proper name. On first glance, they appear to just be a reskin of the parasites to match a new map, however that could not be farther from the truth. The shock blasts they send out are just okay, if not a little bit annoying, but then every single special round they have, it feels like at least 2 will get stuck in some random corner or wall. Then I have to spend 5 minutes tracking them down to where the Advanced Warfare EMP zombies they squirt out are coming from. I swear, if you're in the Pack-a-Punch house when this round starts, just give up. It's not worth it. Go outside and touch some grass. Maybe call your mom and ask her how her day's going. Calming down and moving past that, Since this is a Russian map, Treyarch did the most obvious thing ever. The PPSH is back, baby. This fan favorite from World at War makes its triumphant return inside of the box. And this is just fan service, but it's good fan service, so I'm down. Since almost every gun inside of Black Ops 3 is good, it's hard to say it stands out as much as it did back in the World at War days, but it is still the PPSH and a solid gun. Also inside the box is our wonder weapon, the ray gun. Third of its kind. The Mark III is just okay. I find it hard to come up with what to say about it since it just kind of feels like a filler basic wonder weapon. The single shot ray gun is powerful until the late game, and the combo shot's a cool idea, but it really just feels as standard as you can go for a wonder weapon, which is odd considering how everything else in this map is so themed. And then one last addition before we start getting into the main quest, the rocket shield is replaced by the dragon shield. And one last time, I have to say, the new weapons and abilities in this map are god tier. I love them. The shield comes with a blast that will one-shot zombies and allow you to run through fire with no damage. This is super helpful for the boss fight later on and can definitely save your ass in the normal map as well. Getting into the main quest, I actually don't know the general feeling in the community about it, but I firmly sit in the camp of, I just don't like it. Now, before you click off or write a comment about how I should perform synchronized swimming acts with a toaster, I do like some of it. The boss fight and some of the trophy steps are fun, plus you do get a dope-ass dragon buddy, so that's pretty great. Said dragon buddy is obtained from hatching an egg that we get from completing various challenges. They aren't too difficult, and the only step I don't enjoy is the round delays after heating it up and incubating it. It just feels a bit unnecessary. The specialist itself isn't the most powerful when compared to the skull from Zets, but you'd have to have a heart of ice to not enjoy letting our little buddy run free while we dash around falcon punching zombies in the face. Once we obtain this, we can get into the real meat and potatoes of the main quest, by getting trophies that are hidden around the map. These can be simple tasks like using the robot trap to unearth it, or just strange ones like shooting a light in the sewer and getting out of the toilet spewing shit. It's honestly a pretty average collection step, if not a little bit long. The next really big step is the longest one of the egg, and the most polarizing I would imagine. Trophies like the Mangler Lockdown or the Groff Pod Defense are creative and fun sections that I really do enjoy, but we also have two different infuriating escorts that are pretty much designed around having Undead Man walking, and the bomb defusal step that takes at least a year off my life every time I do it. I actually want to go a little bit more in depth as to why I don't like the bomb step, because on the surface it's actually a pretty cool and good idea. A time limited section that requires you to work together with your team for a common goal is actually great. The punishment for failing though is not. If your team is in the wrong spot when someone messes this up, it's an instant game over, and you're often at least an hour and a half into a run at this point. If only the person who messed it up took the down every time, that would be fine and actually good design, but as it stands, it gives me similar vibes to the escorts on Advanced Warfare's Infection, and you never want to be compared to that map, where the punishment is nowhere near the level of the crime committed. You can call that a skill issue if you want, but it's just poor game design. Completing that, we unlock the best boss fight of Black Ops 3. That is, if you don't game over hitting the death barrier that's for some reason still in the game over 10 years later. Assuming we do make it in, it's time to work with our favorite drunk Russian one last time to take down the main dragon. If you have a shield, this fight becomes a lot easier, since you won't have to hide in the bunkers when fire's everywhere, and it's just a matter of waiting for our mech comrade to enter the dragon so we can light it up. This arena contains the most open space of any boss fight, and I think that since the main area is almost always on fire, Treyarch decided to be a little bit generous in that regard. Once we do take down the dragon, as could be expected, Nikolai is not willing to go down without a fight. His mech will periodically pop up with different yellow lights to be broken, similar to how we took down the dragon, and this is not super hard, but it's definitely the most fun I've had in any of the fights up to this point. Finishing it is also the best cutscene of the game. We learn that all of the many wives we've heard about throughout the years are just memories or lies made up by Ultimus Nikolai to cope with the loss of his real true love. Upon being confronted with this, he lashes out one last time, taking a shot at his younger self going down fighting. It's honestly kind of funny to think about the fact that he was the only one of our old crew to go down fighting. Richtofen and Dempsey didn't really have a chance, and Takio willingly accepted his death. As we wrap up this map, I think it's important to note that this is the last fully original Aether map we're gonna get until Firebase Z inside of Cold War, which is kind of insane to think about. And that's technically the Dark Aether story, so depending on your definition, this could very well be the final original Aether map. Overall, it's just kind of an average map that can feel nice to play since it has BO3's mechanics, and for all of its amazing additions like the Dragon Gauntlet, we have uninspired ones like the Mark III, which honestly makes me a bit sad. I think that this setting and setup had so much more potential. It really should have been the best Black Ops 3 map on par with Shadows of Evil. There is one stop remaining on our journey through Black Ops 3. Revelations was advertised as the culmination of the zombie story that we all followed for so many years. The hype levels in the community when waiting for any word about the map was off the charts, with theories of a great war map, all of the questions who Dr. Monty really is after his brief introduction at the end of Gorod Krovi as well. Could this possibly live up to the hype and act as a satisfying conclusion to a story so many of us loved? Well, there's really only one way to find out, right? I want to begin by talking about what Revelations actually isn't. Revelations isn't a well-balanced balanced zombies map with proper progression and a standard difficulty curve. Revelations isn't a map that's trying to be a standard zombies map, and it isn't a conclusion to the zombie story despite how it was advertised. So then what is it? Well, Revelations is the chocolate cake after a full meal. We started Black Ops 3 with a nice octopus appetizer, then got some fantastic German snacks to share at the table. Absolutely delicious. Then our main course was a little bit underwhelming, with some Japanese katsu and Russian stroganoff, but it still filled us up and left a good impression of the restaurant overall. Now comes the big finale, a 4-layered chocolate cake. It's an inoffensive classic, something that's familiar and easy to digest, yet something about the way it's presented and decorated gives you something new to find inside of it. That's what Revelations is. It's a map meant to be as likable and palatable as possible for as many people as possible. Everything in this map that's related to pure gameplay is meant to do one of two things: tickle the nostalgia part of your brain, or take out all of the potentially disliked and tedious aspects of the previous Black Ops 3 maps. With that overly complicated and potentially pretentious intro out of the way, let's talk about the end of Black Ops 3 and the start of a new era in zombies. Normally, as I do this, I try to go through the maps as if you're experiencing it, walking through each area and talking about what new thing you'll find and follow a sort of flow. But with Revelations, I feel like that's a bit harder to do, since the map has such a different feel of everything else in the game and even the other games. So I'm first going to go into the basic structure of the map, then talk about all of the returning elements, then its new ones, and then end on a discussion of the Easter egg in full. Revelations contains several islands that you jump between, with each one containing different parts of a returning map. There is some new ground, but really that's just the spawn and the pack-a-punch room. I really think that not having the house itself be a fully playable area was a missed opportunity, though I can see how something so restrictive such as the house could pose an issue with design. The first couple times you play this map, it does a damn good job at hitting those nostalgia parts of your brain. Bouncing between each area and discovering what aspect of previous games that Treyarch deemed most important and worthy of a spot is just a great time. It makes you feel rewarded for having played this game for so many years. Though that's actually mostly why I don't believe Revelations aged quite as well as some of the other maps like Shadows. You only get those feelings a handful of times when playing it, then it just becomes another zombies map. And at its core, this is designed less to be a map and more of an experience. Really, Rev is made to feel like the Avengers Endgame of Black Ops Zombies. An amazing experience that you absolutely adore the first couple times, then gets a little less special each time you go back to it. Now, that might sound like I don't like the map, but I really do. That philosophy is what made it the most casual-friendly map inside of Black Ops 3, bar maybe the Giant. You have every single big weapon or upgrade coming from the box, some easy quests to get upgraded perks, and all of the mini-bosses are pretty easily dealt with because of the weapons provided. I mean, you have two of the strongest wonder weapons of all time in one map. And finally, the parasites come back as the easiest bonus round. And then as for new zombie types, the Fury, they're pretty easily to deal with as well, and they don't show up very often. But as they are, they're definitely the coolest looking zombie type in the game. So if you were disenchanted with the complexity of Black Ops 3 compared to Black Ops 1 and 2, you'll likely still have a good time on Rev, which is exactly what Treyarch was very intentionally trying to do. And then let's say that you're someone who skipped Black Ops 3 because you didn't like the complexity, but came back because Revelations was advertised as the end of the story. You're still going to see a lot of the hits. Getting into what returned from the previous Black Ops 3 maps, we have the Apothecon Servant, Margwas, Panzer Soldats, Little Arnie's, Time Trials, and Ragnaroks. If you look at that lineup, there isn't a single controversial addition when looking at what the community loved as a whole. Just because things were brought back from previous maps doesn't mean they're exactly the same though, kind of how the Panzer changed when coming from Black Ops 2 to 3. Margwas are now Elemental, which is a massive upgrade from Shadows, and praise to the Lord we can finally upgrade the Apothecon Servant after all of the rumors. But goddamn does that upgrade suck to do. You gotta run around the map and search for symbols floating in the sky, and there isn't really any indication of what these do, and once you get all 5, you just kind of find out you can pack-punch the gun now. One common theme with this map's side quests and eggs is you're gonna be playing a lot of essentially Where's Waldo. The maps that were chosen to return is a fun subject to think about. Of course, Nacht is going to be the centerpiece, wanting to end where we all began, and one of the biggest sections is from Kinder der Toten, which is many people's first zombies experience and their most loved. Black Ops 2 even has its own section with Origins, Buried, and Mob of the Dead, the 3 least controversial maps from that era, taking up one island. So with all that gushing about nostalgia, what are the new things this map really brought? Well, honestly, comparatively, not that much. For playable space, there's some small areas in Spawn and the Apothecon Stomach, which is very interesting, but you won't spend a ton of time there. Outside of just new playable space, the biggest gameplay addition to Revelations is the mask and helmet system. Each of these come with a side quest to complete and offer a buff plus cosmetic change. Purple Jug, which gives you an extra hit, is the most common one you'll see people getting, but my personal favorite is the Direwolf head for extra stamina up. Because honestly, it makes you feel like you have unlimited stamina with that thing, and this whole system is a great addition to the map. Now's a good time to start talking about the main Easter egg and the conclusion of Black Ops 3. And one thing is, despite how casual friendly the gameplay of the map can be, its Easter egg is a whole nother story. This took the longest to find out of any main quest on any other map, and that's not because it was super challenging, it was just incredibly obscure and tedious to find. For example, to start off, after shooting the gravestones in spawn, you have to find a tiny rock on one of the launch pads, and then guide a keeper soul there while standing on said tiny rock so he starts interacting with it. Then head back to the stomach in order to throw 9 Arnies into small holes while fighting the Margwas, and actually that step's not too bad, it makes sense compared to other ones, but the pebble step is really weird. And then after that is probably the worst step of the map. You have to go shoot rocks with a bullet gun and then use the Apothecon Servant to do some serious sucking. The various bones will appear on the map that need to be succulent sucked up, but these are some incredibly small rocks and they're very hard to see even while I have a guide that tells you exactly where it is. Plus, it feels like a lot of time the suck just doesn't do its job. Okay, I'll stop with the suck jokes for now. And once we do get that done and then grab Sophia's body, we have to go around the map and find even more tiny objects because now there's 4 eggs that are scattered in random corners and only one can spawn at a time. Treyarch really wanted this egg to be found slowly since it was the last one, I get that, but instead of just making it longer or harder, they just made it tedious as hell. Once we place these eggs into an interesting looking container, we have to do another searching step, but this time the thing we're searching for is invisible and uses beeps to communicate. Now though, doing that, we will have unlocked the final boss of Black Ops 3, hype building as we go to this quest and reach the Kino teleportation room. Getting set into this arena, we don't see a boss right away. We simply walk up to the Chronorium and interact. Now, you better remember the symbols here and hope it doesn't glitch out, because we need to enter them across the room. This is when the fight really begins. In 4 different phases, we have to deal with a ton of Margwas, while the arena slowly becomes more dangerous. Completing this gives us the summoning key, so it turns out it wasn't actually the boss fight, it was just a build up to it. But sadly, this was actually the better version of the 2 fights, and I actually really enjoy this compared to the last one. This next step can be a little bit glitchy, but it is really cool. So summoning key in hand, we have to go around and hit different targets around the map to, what I assume is capture them into the key, and it's a pretty fantastic final step, going and capturing all of the parts of the story that leaked out to finally set things right. And the basketball shots are pretty fun to pull off. That is if it doesn't glitch out.
Oh, dang.
Just keep it. It's fine.
Oh no, do you?
No. You wanna try downing yourself?
Tank Dempsey.
Didn't do none. Wait, I found it.
Actually?
Yeah, I got it.
Where was it?
Spawn.
Yeah, I lost it.
You didn't?
Yeah. But now, it's time for the real final boss of the game. Something to end Treyarch's golden era of runs. With everything on the line, we meet our last challenge. And it's someone we beat in the first map already. Look, okay, I get that he's the big bad, and it makes sense that he needs to go down somehow in the end, but I don't think that he should be the final boss fight. Or maybe give him sidekicks for us to fight with him in a new, crazier form. The way we damage him isn't even that cool. We just charge up the key and chuck it to Sophia for the alley-oop. Then it's the same thing as the Shadows fight where we shoot him into a spot when the shield is down and interact with the big book and it's over. This feels so repetitive and honestly kind of lazy. I don't understand why this was done this way. It's just so disappointing because everything on this map did so well to build nostalgia and focus on being a fun experience for the dedicated members of the community, only to fumble the bag at the most important part of the story. At least the ending cutscene is kind of fun, setting us full circle into a cycle after outsmarting the big man Monty himself, but it was clear at this point to some that this is not the end Treyarch had hyped it up to be. Black Ops 3 was simply too successful to let the story die. And this choice to go back into a cycle and continue, I don't think was made in the best interest of the story, but in the best interest of money. This should have been the end of our main character's story and marked the end of Treyarch's run with these characters. In the end, I really do love Revelations as a concept and idea. Plus, it's one of the easiest Black Ops 3 maps to pick up and just have a good time on or go for high rounds. But when I look at it as a piece of story and the impact it had later on in the games, similar to Gorod, I just kinda get a bit sad. Now, if you're someone who simply didn't care much about the story other than a passive interest, but you've been playing zombies for a really long time, you probably loved Rev. Since gameplay-wise, it really did hit perfectly all of those feelings. But really, it should have just been the character's conclusion they deserve and sent us on our way to a new adventure with the Chaos story. It feels like Treyarch cheated us with how much this map was built up to be a conclusion and the end of an era. Speaking of ends, as this map reached the finishing parts of its life cycle, no one really knew what to expect with zombies. Big YouTubers were saying goodbye to our characters, thinking we had reached the end. And a lot of players had accepted this was the last time we'd see our crew. But then, in small corners of the community, little whispers and little leaks started to happen, something that felt too good to be true. And all those came into the limelight when a man named JC Backfire put out a surprise video for the community. Zombies Chronicles was a collection of 8 beloved maps, primarily from the World at War to Black Ops 1 era, and I am not going to be adding 2 hours to this video by going over each and every remaster. If you want to see what I have to think about them, then go check out my other retrospectives. What I am going to talk about is the impact this had on the legacy of Black Ops 3 and the effects it brought onto later Zombies games. At the time, this was absolutely loved by everyone. Most people will agree that the Black Ops 3 engine is the best for zombies, so having the classics all in one place is a no-brainer. And these remakes are all incredibly well made. The maps didn't lose their identity in the game swap, and Treyarch put a lot of small hints about where the story is going next and what we might have missed out earlier on. And it revived a somewhat grieving community for a couple months with excitement. Something I don't see mentioned very often though is the negative effects of Zombies Chronicles. Now just to be clear, right from the get-go, I love this map pack. It was a good idea and it was amazing. But the community response to remakes and remasters became, we want more of this, what's the next map to come back? And that was the discussion. Despite what you hear nowadays in regards to Black Ops 4, a lot of the community wanted remasters of old maps, and Black Ops 4 delivered that. And I would say this is really the start of zombies fatigue. Normally, even if there was a zombies mode in the next game, we'd get a nice break between releases between DLC 4 and the game coming out. But now we had this 5th DLC leading up to Infinite Warfare, which then gave us more content for a year, which then led to World War II, which then led to Black Ops 4, and by that point the community was just getting burnt out. The year-long break between Zombies content did always suck if you were a fan back then, but Zombies creators and the players were always able to creatively fill that gap with new challenges and fun concepts. Plus, the couple of months leading up to the new game started a hype train that got everyone ready to consume content again. So not having that separation was a short-term game with a lot of long-term impact. And then on top of all of that, we have a booming custom zombie scene growing inside of Black Ops 3 at this point. So the gaps in between maps, we have constant community content coming in to keep everyone engaged. And that sounds like I'm against custom zombies. I'm not. I absolutely adore it. But mixing the flow of maps from the community with the never-ending stream of releases from mainline games is something that should be talked about when people wonder why zombies kind of fell off from its golden age. If you're always on that adrenaline high and you never have dips, you're inevitably going to get burnt out. Ignoring everything in the future though, in the end, this was the best time to be a Zombies fan. Everything new that came out was an event in the community, and the sense of community had never been stronger inside of the game mode. And I can only hope that somehow Black Ops 6 will bring these feelings back, because it has been a while since we had a proper Zombies game. Like I said at the start, this isn't necessarily my favorite Zombies game to go back and play, but if I had the option to relive the life cycle of any of the games, it would be Black Ops 3 without question, and I think most of us probably would say the same. For the overall tier list, I can imagine this isn't what most people expected going into the video. Shadows is actually the only map to make S tier, and Horizon just barely missed out being the best A tier map sitting with Revelations. Then Zets and Gorod firmly sit in B tier. Remember, left to right does matter in this ranking. This video has taken way longer than I thought to get out, and is so much longer than any of my other retrospectives, so I really hope you all enjoyed it. Next up is Infinite Warfare, a game that I actually have in my top 3 zombies modes, so I'm incredibly excited for that. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss it, and sincerely, thank you to each and every one of you.